re-election. And I'm doing this, I hope, enthusiastically, and I know, in fact, I believe I can do the best job for this state. I am a mature citizen. I'm not going to say an old citizen, a mature citizen. But it's crucial. This is probably the most crucial election this nation is going to face. We are at the roads, and everybody says this a lot and during elections, but we are truly at the roads, the crossroads of the future of this nation. And when I say that, I look upon this president and the weakness of the Congress and how we've let the executive branch take over your lives, not only the state of Alaska, but the rest of this nation, by inactivity of the Congress. You have 1,855,000 laws that you have to respond to that were never voted on. Never vetted by the people. Somebody said this is what you have to do and it's better for you and don't question us. And the Congress allowed them to do that. It's been exhilarated this last 4 years by President Obama. If you haven't seen the movie, what is it, 16? The movie
2016.
Once you look at it, watch it. It's a very factual movie. And I don't say he doesn't have a right to believe as he believes. I just say it's wrong for this nation. He's a true socialist. He believes that the government, and only the government, should control your lives and yourself shouldn't be controlled by yourself. He believes that from the time you're born, even before you're born, the government should tell you who's going to be born, where they're going to be born, how they're going to be raised, what they can eat, where they're going to go to school, what they're going to do, if they can do it, or if they want to do it, if they don't, they'll be taken care of. Who's your doctor going to be, and how you're going to die. And that's his belief. It's not about Mitt Romney. I'm supporting it. It's about not having Obama. But whoever is elected, the Congress has to gain its power back. I've introduced a bill. I got 40 co-sponsors. I was ridiculed by it. Even the Chamber of Commerce down in Anchorage said, well, what's he thinking? I just introduced a very simple bill. All regulations passed from 91 until now are null and void. All laws passed by regulation are null and void, and else they can be justified. And they say, wait a minute. If they're the right regulation, then let them come justifying to the Congress. Yeah.
Amen.
Then we have government of the people and by the people, not by some bureaucrat working for a bureaucracy that is really a finger of the executive branch. Now let's go to the Congress itself. I believe we've done a good job in the House this last 4 years, or 2 years, by passing good job-creating bills, by passing a good budget, and passing all the appropriation bills at 10% less than we had done in the past, and sending them over to the Senate. And nothing happens in the Senate because Harry Reid believes, as the President, government for the benefit of government and being able to direct the people. So it means the Senate has to change. But it also has to come from the people. We go back to the state of Alaska and other states. This state is affected more than anything else because we're federally controlled. Under the Constitution, the Senator, it will verify this, Mr. Cowgill, his dad, was on the Constitutional Convention. They wrote a good Constitution for the state of Alaska and gave us 103 million acres of land for our social and economic well-being, including the utilization of the federal land. The only lands reserved at that time, PET 4, the Rose Refuge out of Bethel, and the Tongass National Forest. We all thought at that time, we'll get our land, yet we'll have access to the federal land. We could have mining claims, we could have timber, we could build hydro sites. We'd have the ability to have the wealth they said we couldn't create, not only from our lands, but from the federal government. And then if you follow very closely, we ended up Get a Native Land Claims Act, 44 million acres of land. Now we're looking good. We have 147 million acres of land, which is bigger than the state of California, Washington, all of Oregon, and half of Washington. That sounded pretty good. But then came the Alaska National Lands Act. And even then we didn't think it caused any problem. They created 47 million acres of land in parks, refuge, preserves, and wilderness areas. And they surrounded or put adjacent to the state lands and the native lands these restrictive areas. And under the definition of those areas, they weren't too bad. But then comes along the regulations. And the regulations say you can't have this particular amount of air, you can't have a viewshed interruption, you can't have a water interruption, you can't have habitat for species that will go into the foreign land, the federal lands. And what we've done, we've lost those lands. Now, if you want to go a little further, as I told the senator, you go to the Pebble Mine. The Pebble Mine. How many millions of dollars have been spent on those ads? It's state land. State land. And we put it up for discovery. And when you discover, you can explore. Don't you go to sleep with me. You can explore. And when you find, you can develop. And what happened? We got people that brought in the EPA. And if the EPA, as they have done, define the land, the state land has watershed and we can't develop that mine, they've taken that mine away from us. More than that, they have taken every other acre of state land away from us. Airports, roads, any construction can be stopped in those lands. And you've lost your statehood. And the Constitution that his dad helped pass and voted for is no longer valid in the state of Alaska. How do you solve that problem? State legislators have got to convince the governor it's time to say no more. We're not going to do as we're told to do because you say it's right, Mr. Government. Everybody says, you're teaching anarchy. No, I'm following the Constitution of the United States, but more than that, the state of Alaska. I just told these gentlemen over here, if I was governor of the state of Alaska, and please, Sean, don't get excited, I'm not running for governor. If I was governor, I would declare, especially for the interior of Alaska, an energy emergency. And do it.
Yes.
Do it.
Amen.
And I keep saying, don't worry about it, just do it. Because this area is dying. Not being, dramatic about this, it is. The Anchorage area and the Kenai area and Wasilla is not because they have natural gas and we have nothing when it comes to energy. I just saw the other day where Golden Valley put in and they accepted the criteria for the clean coal plant down in Ely. But they damn near signed their lives away to do it. The agreement they have is with which group? Sierra Club. The idea that you're negotiating with a non-profit special interest groups to provide power to you is, to me, wrong. Please, you've got to help me. I can't do this by myself. You've got to help me as people that demand from your legislators and the governor. We've got to solve this problem. 60 years we've been talking about gas to Fairbanks. 60 years. Read Bill Snedden's book, The 49th Star. Read that book. In there, they were talking about bringing gas down. I forget the name of that field. It's not the North Slope, but field bringing gas to Fairbanks. 60 years. Then we were going to build what do you call that? Rampart Dam. I was against that, by the way.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason I was against it. It was the biggest bathtub in history. It's only 110 feet head. You're going to build hydropower, you build a real hydropower. So, we have been talking about energy for this area for a long, long time. Don't ask the federal government to do it, just let the federal government, tell the federal government to get out of our way and start providing energy. We go to the airport space out here, and that's going to be a battle. Keep it. If we had a cheap enough power, we probably wouldn't have that battle. And if we did have that power, even if they closed the base down, that's the finest manufacturing facility in the state of Alaska. As an airport, as a railroad, it has housing, it has the ability to become the center, if you had cheap power, be the northern western manufacturing base of this nation. Does that sound a little big? It is. But if you have power, you can do anything. Now, why am I doing all this? Is because that little lady back there is leaning her head up. She's a pretty girl, you know that? I don't know about your sister, though. You guys, you're pretty, too. I want them to have the right to have a position of their life, of making their own decisions, and the right to have a job that is creative. This nation became great because of one thing. It was the creation, discovery, and development of resources. The nation. And be able to produce enough food to feed the workers that developed those resources. To be able to feed them so they could cut the trees to build the houses for the people of this nation. To be able to take and mine the iron ore and put the energy into the coal we had. To build the greatest Army, Navy, and Air Force. Well, that was the same thing at that time. Army and Navy in history. Because of our labor and our resources. And we created real dollars. Dollars that have a value. And not only had the education, the GI Bill, this is all good things, and we had a higher educated group of people, and we became the greatest nation in the world from the resources God has given us. And then we started buying things. We started buying energy cheaper from Saudi Arabia in 1956. Before that, we had a clause that you could not import energy. We started buying, yes, even food. And we definitely started buying automobiles because they were cheap. Then we started buying, oh, by the way, clothes are really good from China. And my staff hates me to say this, but I'm going to say it again. You're all guilty. I just told the senator this. I'm going to have all of you take your clothes off, not made in the United States. Now, some of you look pretty good, some of us will look pretty bad. Because there isn't about one piece of American clothing in this room. Including the shoes, your underwear, your shirts, your parkas. We're all guilty of becoming consumers and not producers. And yet I have a president today, and Mr. Obama says we're going to stimulate the economy by borrowing money from China, and we're going to take and make new jobs. I have hired so many school teachers. I'm a school teacher, and I love school teachers. And I'm going to hire so many policemen, and I believe in peace and tranquility. But do teachers and firefighters and policemen create any new wealth? Yeah. Do I create any new wealth? Absolutely not. There is no government employment that creates new wealth. They consume wealth. And that's well and good if you're producing something that has real value. If you can't sleep under it, wear it, eat it, or write it, it has little value. I've been criticized for saying it, but it is true. Because they're the basis of the rest of the economy of this nation. The sooner we get back to the concept of production of our resources and manufacturing from, we can solve this so-called economic problem we have. And the state has the same problem. Beware of the state. We're down to 600 or less thousand barrels a day of oil coming through. We're paying $4.14 for a gallon of gasoline. California's paying $5.16. I love that. And go all the way to $7 to be happy. And yet we're still buying over half of our fossil fuels from overseas. Obama will say, look how much energy we're producing. Much more than it was 4 years ago. Yes, but it's from private land, not federal land. The federal land is producing nothing. Yet we're buying. So we as a country have got to wake up. We want to be, as we were in the past, the greatest leaders in the free world. And have the opportunity to the young people here. So you can wake up in the morning when you're 25 years old and say, I achieved this and I want to be rewarded for what I've done because I did it. With the help of the good Lord. And if you screw up, have the courage to say, I fouled up. Don't blame your sister or your mother or your sister, other sister, little one. Take credit for what you've done wrong. But if you've done something right, you should be rewarded for it. not prohibited by the government of the United States. That's my short presentation to you tonight, and if you've got any questions, I'm glad they tried to answer. I'm wound up, I ought to get on the soapbox. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.